Welcome to Interact's Creator Stories podcast. Interact is the easiest way to convert curious people into loyal and happy customers by using a lead generating quiz. Today, we get to speak with Nynke de Blaauw, who has a background in B2B marketing and is currently leading partnerships at the software company Yoast. Yoast is most famous for its Yoast SEO, the #1 SEO plugin on WordPress that's installed on 13 million websites. And recently, they launched an SEO app on Shopify, which helps merchants to outrank their competitors. Yoast believes in SEO for everyone, and today we get to dive deep into how to get your business seen online with SEO. All right, let's get started. Hi, guys, and welcome back to Interact's Creator Stories podcast. So excited to be here with you all. As always, I'm your host, Jasmine Solana, and with me, I have Nynke de Blaauw from Yoast. If you guys have not heard of that company, it's an SEO-based software. But Nynke, why don't you go ahead and give them the lowdown? They already sort of heard your more formal bio, but in your own words, we'd love to get a little bit more about what Yoast does and your role at the company.
Sure, yeah. So Yoast is indeed a SEO software company. We're super famous for our WordPress SEO plugin. It's the #1 SEO plugin on the platform. And beginning of this year, we also launched on Shopify. So now we're helping all Shopify merchants as well with the best SEO solution we think they can get. Our free plugin is most famous, but we do have some specialized paid plugins, for example, our premium plugin, but also on WooCommerce, on news SEO, on video SEO. And that all comes with Academy access as well, because we're here to educate everybody on SEO, besides helping them actually do some SEO on their website.
I love that.
Yeah, and
Oh, go ahead. I was
that's
going to say, we also use Yoast. So this was a pretty cool interview for me because I've seen it in action.
Cool. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. We have 13 million free users, so it's so
Wow.
cool to see our impact on the web in general. And it's lovely when I hear somebody using Yoast on their site, I'm super happy to see
Love that.
we're there. Yeah. And I've been working for Yoast for 2 years now. And before I was in B2B marketing, I used to work at a HubSpot agency, and then I rolled into being a community project manager for Yoast. And I've switched all kinds of roles in the meantime, and now I'm leading partnerships. So keeping busy with building relationships, maintaining relationships with other companies in the WordPress and Shopify ecosystem, but also outside of that.
I love that. I love that. I feel like it's always interesting to hear people sort of switch roles because I mean, when you're in one role, I mean, I'm sort of not really early in my career, but I've only ever had two roles, sales and marketing.
Okay.
I always felt like it was really hard to switch, make a switch into another career. And I think a lot of people
hmm
who are listening can relate to this, especially if they're sort of thinking about pivoting their businesses. What if you don't mind talking about it, what was
No,
that
sure.
transition like into, you're in a role and you see a new one, totally
Yeah.
different from what you're used to doing. How do you make that transition and how do you learn from, you know, the skills that you already have but in this new
hmm
role?
Yeah, so the biggest transitions I have made at Yoast, for especially, are from a role in execution to a more team lead role and more management role. And the thing with Yoast is we're a super fast paced company. We release new software updates every 2 weeks. We expand into new markets regularly. We have a lot of products to update. We have a lot of ideas. We're super innovative. And when you're working at Yoast, it's I like it. It's really nice to go on with that pace. Like, okay, there's a new opportunity for me. I like to try it. Just give me it. So I've been switching between marketing teams, and now I'm a little bit more outside of the marketing department, and that's a whole new department for Yoast as a company, a more commercial department. And I love pioneering, and I love taking chances and being a little bit risky maybe, and just see like, okay, let me get this started and let me get some people together that are a little bit like-minded, have some experience in the field, don't mind trying as well. And when we set that base, then we can add on new people that like to be in a more set environment with more procedures and more goals. So for me personally, I like the challenge. I like taking a dive in the deep end without knowing where it starts and where it stops. That's not for everybody, and I recognize that as well. So my tip, if you like that, just try. Be loud about what you want and what your ambitions are. If you see an opportunity, try to take it. Try to convince others you should take it as well. That's that's an important part of transitioning roles as well. To convince others you're the best fit for that job.
Oh, I love that. It's easier too if you already work in a company that's sort of open to,
Yeah,
you know, hiring, I guess, within, right? Or even if that role doesn't exist already,
yeah,
like open to, oh, I would like to try something new. I think this would be really good for the
yeah.
company. Here's why, right?
We do that all the time, and I really like that, but it has to be your thing as well. Yeah.
Right, right. So let's talk a little bit about SEO. I feel like
Yeah.
it's sort of a scary, thing to think about in your business. It's a little hard to understand. Can you start off with what is SEO and why do you need it for your online business?
Sure. So beginner level, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And SEO is actually the practice of making sure your web pages are shown in Google and other search engines. And all these, there's a lot of things you can do in SEO. There's a lot of things you can focus on, and that's super overwhelming, especially for companies that just or businesses that just start out, because they might don't know their target audience yet. They might don't know what keywords they are using to search for stuff. And the nice part about SEO is that it's both a technical and a content. It has both a technical and a content side. And although you might not be the most technical person, the content side has a lot of influence on your rankings as well. Your technical foundation should be all set, and you shouldn't worry about it too much. But the content side is where you can really make the changes and lift off. So actually, what you're doing with all SEO, I will get into some details later, but with all SEO stuff, is helping search engines understand what you're writing about, what your website is about, because they are not humans. They know a lot, but you have to tell them a lot as well. So they want to show people that search for something the best result, and you have to be that best result. And you're not the best result for everyone, and that's something to keep in mind. You Not everyone is your ideal customer or your ideal audience, or maybe your ideal sponsor or whatever. You have a particular person or a particular type of company in mind, and try to optimize for them and try to be visible for them. And especially during the pandemic and also post-pandemic, a lot of businesses went online or focused more on online. And that notion of being visible to your ideal customers only expanded. And that also means the competition has grown. Everybody wants to be the best result. Everybody wants to outrank their competitors because they're all online now. So that's super scary, but also you are in control. Like you can control a bit a part of this. Of course, still Google decides what to show, but you can. And one other important thing that to keep in mind as well is that it expands to the offline world, and not everybody has this top of mind, and you shouldn't if that's not important for your business. But let's say you're visiting a new city and you want a place to eat, or you want to see a movie, or maybe your car broke down while driving there and you need someone to fix your tire. first thing you will do is Google and go to Google Maps and try to find an online or a local store that can help you out. And that's also SEO, making sure people that in the real world can find your local business. So you offer Google that information, and you need to be the best result for the thing your audience is then looking for.
Love that. And I think
So it's
too,
super important.
right. It is really important, which actually it's a good sort of segue into my next question. And we get this all the time, right? Where a quiz is a great tool for converting people
Yeah,
onto your email list once they find your website. But how do you get
exactly.
people to find your website in the first place organically with SEO?
Yeah. And that's a super big challenge, especially when you're just starting out because you don't have content yet to show, or like what should you tell Google that you are all about. So the best thing to start with is thinking about just that. What is my website about? What is the story I would like to tell? And also, what am I adding in to everything that already exists? If you have a certain offering that's super unique and the first one in the world, then you have a challenge of getting people to know that this exists. But chances are you are offering something that's pretty similar to what other companies are already doing. So in that case, it's really, really important to look for that thing that makes you unique. Like, what are you adding into the conversation? What does, because maybe you're super experienced, what is your vision on a certain topic? So first, make sure you have this strategy, this vision all laid out, because that's super helpful in creating content about the problems you solve for your customers, or the ideas that you have for the world. So apart from that thinking, which is really important, that's your fundament, you also need to focus on, or afterwards, the next step is to focus on both on-page SEO and off-page SEO. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because on-page SEO is literally the stuff you can do on your website. So you need to make sure Google has your web address and it gets that from other websites referring to you. Then you need to make sure that some technical aspects of your websites are set, so your URLs are easy to read. For example, you have headings on your pages, your content is being indexed, and that's all technical stuff. And luckily at Yoast we are doing that for you, so the user doesn't have to bother about this. But also site speed, don't put too much big images or videos on it. Make sure your code is great, and then start thinking about the structure of your website. So what content goes where, what's the most important part, and then what's more in the deep end, what do people need to read next to a certain article or a certain vision you shared there. Off-page SEO, on the other hand, is what is not so much in your control, but is also really important to Google and other search engines, because that's influencing your visibility or your ranking in the search engine results page from the outside. And that's, for example, other websites ranking or linking to you because they think you're an authority, or they think you're an expert, or they just like maybe super fun content that you have created, like a cool quiz or like a nice interaction on the site that just is an example or inspiring to other websites. And also social media attention, and that's not something people don't think about right away when they think about SEO. But also, if you tell Google like, hey, this is my Facebook page and this is my Twitter page, and they see that people are referring to that, they might think, hey, this is an interesting result for people looking for that type of information. So
I had no
there's a
idea
lot
about
of
that.
stuff. No, there's a lot of stuff to work on, and it can be super overwhelming. But making sure you have that vision of what makes you stand out of the crowd is the most important thing, because then you can start writing your content and really going into detail of what makes your business unique, or your brand, or your idea.
In general, I feel like that's a very good practice anyway, because if you
Yeah,
have
of
that
course.
foundation, it helps with not only just your SEO, but everything else in business, right? It
Yeah.
helps with what your offers are going to be. It helps with your quiz, any other
Yeah,
marketing
definitely.
campaign, ads,
Yeah.
everything like that. If you know exactly like what your vision is, what your business does, and who you
Yeah.
are, it'll go a long way. I love that. Um, so that sort of leads me into, okay, we have, right, maybe two types of listeners. On one hand, we have people
Mhm.
who are just getting started. So maybe they're in that space of not having much content or they have a little bit. Then we have people who are probably more established, but feel like they could take their business to the next level. So
Yeah.
let's start with people who are just getting started. What are the top three SEO best practices for those who are just getting started in their business?
Yeah. So if you have that vision on paper or somewhere, because that's your main point as a business anyway, I guess, then the first thing I would recommend to do is keyword research. And although that might sound super boring, like why should I research? I know what my vision is, but you don't know how your ideal customers or your ideal audience is looking for that. How do you know what kind of words they use to find a solution for their problem or find inspiration on a certain topic? So keyword research can really help you find the exact phrases that people use. And although you don't have to use that exact phrase, but it gives you a notion of, okay, this is something that a lot of people are looking for, or maybe not a lot, but there's a niche for this. And I see other companies or like competitors of you or similar brands are not doing anything with this. So there's a big opportunity there to make sure you stand out from the results. And of course, there's a way of just going like, I will just create the content, what I feel is right to do and what feels like that aligns with me. And that's nice. But if you can like have this confirmation of, yeah, well, that feeling of you, that's pretty accurate because we see a lot of people are searching this and even see that the amount of searches for that key phrase has risen over time, has increased or maybe decreased. Um, so as an example, which I hope some of the listeners can relate to, you could think of a business selling maybe educational courses on doing sales, like just in general, doesn't matter in which industry or whatever. You could go like, okay, the thing I want to sell here are online courses on sales. So online course on sales would be my key phrase. But if you go research that, it might be the case that people are searching for beginner level online course about sales, for example, a little bit more specific other than your general key phrase that you had in mind because you think that's what I sell. Another point in it could also be how to do sales in a fashion boutique shop, like actual real life sales in a boutique. And that's a whole new level that you can then explore, like a whole new world that you can shed your light on. So that's why keyword research would be my first practical step to start with when you're new, so you can start creating the content that people are actually looking for. And SEMrush, for example, is a great tool to use that to do that with. I think they have a free plan of 10 keyword researchers every month. So it doesn't have to cost you much if you're on a tight budget. You can just start
We
right
also
away.
use that tool as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was
Oh,
gonna
wow.
say, it's actually since I work on our content, that is something that I do have to do is keyword research. And it's very tough, I would say, to kind of learn at first
Yeah,
because it's not something you're used to thinking about. Like
no,
what you would search for, but you have to also kind of think about, okay, well, what would somebody who's looking for what I offer, like what would they search for?
yeah.
Um, I wanted to add in here something that we do actually is we have a lot of conversations with customers, and
Hmm.
it's really about active listening of, okay, what are the keywords that
Yeah,
pop out that they're all using? What's the common sort of word that they're using, or what are the common questions that they're asking? Whether it be about business in general or quizzes specifically. and just writing all of those down and then going into a tool like SEMrush
That's perfect.
and actually like searching for those keywords and okay, what are different ways we can say this? What might be other ways people will search for this and so
Yeah.
on.
Ideally, your own customer input is the best input you can get. If you don't have customers yet, go on Twitter, for example, search for people talking about that. Go to maybe free events in your area that are about this topic and hear how people handle these words, what questions they ask. And it costs maybe some time investment to research this and to be aware of like, oh, I indeed active listening. I'm not just listening to the question they ask, but what deeper layers can I discover? And
Right.
that's a great tip. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so when a second thing is if you're starting out, Google loves to know what you think is important on your website. So if you're starting a new website, you can actually give Google these hints on what content is most important to you by making sure a lot of pages on your site link towards that page that are super important. And we call this site structure. So it's actually like the way your site has been built up. And in this case, we all know websites have like a navigational menu with some top keywords like maybe the contact page, an about page, and some product features or offering, or maybe a blog or resources. And linking to those pages makes Google see like, whoa, there are a lot of links pointing towards that page. That must be important content. And the best thing about starting a new website is that you can keep the structure nice and fresh and well thought about. And while when you're in it, it's super hard to maintain or change. So make sure that that you have a good, and even like make a drawing of this, or maybe an Excel sheet or some whiteboard online. Like really think about what are the pages that will convince people that I'm an authority or I'm an expert or I'm the one they should trust for, I don't know, fixing their blog problem or inspiring them. So that's the second thing that's super easy to start with when you're new, because your website is still new. And a third thing that really intertwines with that, I think, is visitor experience, user experience on your site. Because if a user can easily find some information and easily knows what to do, Google will see like, hey, people are actually using this website. Like I refer them from my search results to this site, and people stay on that website. Maybe they fill out some forms or they do something and they explore more content on that page or on that website. So making sure, for example, buttons are super clear. So it's easy to click and you know what you can expect when you click a button. Forms are easy to fill in. Links are easy to spot. Like, okay, this is a different color maybe with an underline or whatever. Make it visible, make it super easy. And also when you're doing that, you're automatically making it accessible for people with maybe like, how do you say that, like that are visually impaired or that use screen readers. They will know that there's a text link there. They can push that button, and images have alt text, so they understand what the page is about. So it's both from the ideal user that can see and hear and touch everything, to groups that you might not think about, even people with color blindness, for example, that maybe don't see the difference between two colors while they're both on a button. So they don't see the words on the button, for example. Stuff like that. And that's really nice to do in the first place as well, because changing all that styling and all that things that you already have in place is much more work than making sure you do it right from the beginning.
Right. Right. Yeah, I never thought that that is something you'd have to think about where making not only are you sort of making your website in general easy to find, but you also have to make your website itself, like just everything super easy, visible, very clear. And it's really interesting how sort of your website design leads not only for like the aesthetics of it, but its functionality with SEO. And that's something that we
Mm-hmm.
tell people who are creating quizzes all the time is make sure you choose clarity over cleverness. It's always awesome,
Exactly.
right, to think like, I think this looks beautiful, it looks so cool, I do all these interesting things. But if
Mm,
your general user who maybe isn't as tech savvy, or like you said, like have other like people that you wouldn't really think about, then you could be losing out on certain business where you would really thrive.
definitely. And also like age differences. People that are not used to using the computer much, or are not on a mobile, or not, or are using a tablet all the time, they have a whole different experience on your site than you, with your three screens and setting up everything nicely and testing everything. And that's something to really take into account, because there is a multitude of types of users visiting your website, and that's not something maybe you know, but that's really happening. And you're
Love that.
losing business if you don't. So that's a big argument as well.
Right. You just never know. And if you find later that, oh, actually, like I've never, talked to somebody where they can't see the button, then sure, maybe
Exactly.
it'll work out. But it's good, especially if you're just starting out, to think outside the box of
Yeah.
sort of what you think is happening, and just imagine like, oh, what are the possibilities here? And how can I make sure that I'm catering to everyone?
Yeah.
Love that. So let's jump into people who have an established website, they have content already ready on there, and they want to take their business to the next level. What are some
Yeah.
of the best practices, top 3 that they could implement into their website?
Yeah, so in case you have created some content, and you've maybe gone through some different topics, and like you have a little bit on that, and you have a little bit on this, and you have a little bit on a third topic, and everything is nicely divided and nicely written, and like does all our if you have Yoast installed, like your SEO check is green, and your readability is green, and you have like done checked all the boxes basically. Then coming back to the way Google sees your website, at that moment in time, it's really important to start categorizing your content as super, we call that long tail, like super niche, super specific. Basically, that's how you would describe it in normal people words. Super specific content on really one particular challenge, or one particular idea, or one particular example that you came across. While you also have content that maybe links or lists all these examples as more like an exploring page, like, hey, we have knowledge on this particular topic, and these are all examples that you can explore, and this is our general opinion, and this is maybe a video about it. We call these pages that like, how would you say that would like gather all this information on a particular topic. We call them cornerstone pages. And what you basically want is create, okay, this is a pyramid, is create a pyramid of pages linking towards that cornerstone page. So you tell Google, the thing is that likely people will come through these super specific pages because they are, for example, searching for sale training in boutique fashion shops, but you offer sale training in other kinds of shops as well, or you maybe offer some other tips on running a fashion boutique, like that could be one of your niches as well. In that case, you want all these people that come in through all these small specific articles to actually find that other content that is super helpful, super easy to read, because you list all kinds of things, and you explain in the video as well if they like it more. And that marking that as cornerstone content, and that's something you can actually do within Yoast, but it's also just a mind, just a mind game, like, okay, what's my most important content. That's super important when you're wanted to, in case you want to grow your content strategy, because what you can do is fill that whole pyramid on one topic, and then maybe explore other topics as well, instead of just creating all these super specific blogs or pages or articles. No, make sure you fill one pyramid first and then start building up these others as well. And then you will get all these nice links in, work towards these nice links in Google. Other pages will refer to you, hopefully. And that way you can really show your expertise on a particular topic. And although I would always recommend doing that from the start, I know a lot of websites don't, because you're just too busy running your business.
Right.
So make sure if you have that, all that content set, to really make that structure and to really build it out and to tell Google what's important, and therefore also help users to find what's important.
Would you say like a strategy you can use is just when you're going to create like a blog post, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
know you're going to link, you're going to have hyperlinks in your
Yeah,
blog posts.
yeah,
Thinking about, okay, what's the cornerstone article that I'm thinking
exactly.
of here? And then maybe keeping a spreadsheet of,
Yeah.
okay, here are my cornerstone articles and here's what's linked down from there. So when you go to create new content, you know where you're going to place it.
Exactly. That's a great tip, because it can be super easy just to create a separate single page on something or a post, because you think, hey, I have this idea, I really have to work it out. But interlinking it with your cornerstone and maybe other pages as well, maybe you have a nice contact page, for example, that you want to link people to leave their details or to find out more, or maybe sign up for your newsletter or for your podcast. That could be super helpful to make sure that, okay, what's my goal with this page? Do I actually want to convert people here? Do I
Mhm.
want to refer them to the quiz or to some other resources? Or do I want them to keep reading on this particular topic and to refer them to these other types of content that I have on the same topic? Yeah,
Love that.
definitely.
If you haven't done any of this, right? Like, let's say you just
Yeah,
have all this content.
yeah,
Does it make sense to go back and try to link to different articles, like
yeah.
basically creating a pyramid with the articles that already exist on your website?
Definitely does. If you're, for example, using tags in WordPress, that's a really nice way to find out, hey, what am I writing about this topic anyway? And shouldn't I have one bigger page, like this cornerstone page, that gathers all this information and then refers back to all these pages? And then you want to make sure that all these pages refer back to the cornerstone article as well. So yeah, that's definitely nice. If you use another CMS and don't have a tag system, you can also just do a search on your own website, like type in a topic that you think is important, that you have some articles on. Just search for it and see what your users get to see, and see how that interlinks. In case you're using WordPress and you're on Yoast SEO Premium, so our premium paid plugin, we have this cornerstone feature for you. So we will actually say like, hey, this cornerstone article needs more links, or this content should be linked to this cornerstone article because it's missing some links. So we actually will help you build that pyramid
I love
in that
that.
way. But it's easy. It's super easy possible, or not easy, but it takes some time. But it's definitely possible to do this without the premium plugin, or with a spreadsheet, or whatever you prefer. Yeah.
Love that.
And the other part of that, it's super nice if you can explore cornerstone content. But my second tip would be, pay attention to, we call this orphaned content. So content that you have created, a page or maybe something else, a post that is not linked anywhere. Maybe a post that you just created to advertise with on social media, just for one campaign. There's no plan attached. Chances are that that content is actually pretty useful for future visitors of your website. So make sure, we call it orphan because it doesn't have any links pointing towards it. Make sure you also try to link these types of articles back to anything related to them. And also other linking issues like pages that you deleted that now give this 404 error, like page not found. People will end up on these pages because they are linked from your site, or maybe other
Mhm.
websites linked to it, or maybe a LinkedIn post that you've written like 3 months ago shows up in a timeline somewhere, which happens, of course, we all know how LinkedIn works, and then shows this visitor a blank page with a 404 error. You really, really, really want to make sure that doesn't happen. So keeping your links well maintained is a super hard job, but it's super important, not only for Google, but also for your users, so they don't end up in dead links or old links or not updated content, or don't know where to go because there's no link on that page anyway to refer them further into your website. So that would be
Right.
a second tip that actually relates a little bit to the first tip. For well-established websites. And I don't know, a third one, I can just continue on this tip. I can give you 10 tips. You really have to stop me if
We
I
might need to
should.
do another episode.
Yeah, we might. I can go on and on. Luckily, there's the Yoast website with a lot of info as well, so I don't have to talk you through it. Another thing that's I think only possible when you're pretty established and you know what you're talking about and you have shown your authority and expertise on a certain topic, is actually earning links from other sites. The stuff that I was talking about is mostly you making sure you link to your right pages and the pages you want people and Google to end up on. There's a whole world to win if you can make sure other websites are pointing towards your pages. And although this is known as link building, you might have heard of this sometime earlier. We like to call it link earning more, because we think if you are showing this expertise and you are bringing a unique voice to what's on the web already, you should earn links from other websites referring to your content. And that's really important because Google really sees how much links are pointing to your domain coming from other domains. So if that's something you can achieve, you have played the SEO game, and you should be ranking on all the topics that you want to rank for. But this is super hard. And what you don't want, because we see this all the time, of course, what you don't want is random websites linking to your content. Like, hey, I can provide you links, just give me $1,000 and I will link to your site. Well, they will link to all kinds of sites. It will not make any sense. Maybe they link to a pet shop, but also to your e-learning company, and also to the local garbage handler. I don't know, like they can basically link to everything and get paid for it, but that won't help you rank for the topic you want to be found for, because they don't have any authority on that topic. They just link to anything and anyone, and that's not something Google likes. Especially, won't get into details here, but Google recently published the helpful content update, and the name already says it. They want helpful content on the web, and a website randomly linking to other websites is not helpful at all. So try to earn those links from websites that are actually related to your company, not competitors. They probably won't do it, but at least related to what you have to offer.
Right. Like making sure that if you are, a marketing coach for e-commerce businesses, that a website that you're sort of link earning with is also talking about something within the wheelhouse of e-commerce, or even
Exactly.
better,
Yeah.
like the some of the products that your clients actually sell.
Yeah.
That's really like a specific niche or what have you.
Yeah, definitely. And if they have a lot of content on a particular topic that ties into your content, you could like maybe interlink them, and you link back to them and they link to you, and you help each other make the web better in the end as well, because information is just easier to find and it really contributes to your position within the whole secret algorithm of Google.
I find it really interesting that Google specifically calls out helpful content, because I think when they launched this search engine, they didn't know like how far it would go. And I'm sure they
No.
never could have imagined how it's working even today. And with that, I remember when I was mostly in college, but also like in high
Mm-hmm.
school, where, professors would always say, make sure you're looking at credible sources. So if you're sort of like going to this
Exactly.
idea of if you're linking with, a website that just links to whoever pays them money, then it's going to feed sort of very unhelpful information,
Exactly.
and it makes the
Yeah.
internet like a little less cool in my opinion.
Yeah, a little bit less trustworthy as well. Like, who can you
Exactly.
trust? Like, if people are just randomly linking to other people without any tradition or like
Right.
saying why they did that or what's good about that content, it doesn't really make any sense.
I will say I've gotten a ton of those emails.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we get them all
ton
the
of
time. I
yeah, a
think
ton of those
everybody gets
emails.
them.
Yeah, we get a ton of those emails where, they ask, "Hey, like, let's link together," and, some of them we've sort of been like, "Okay, let's look into this." But I feel like a big red flag is as soon as they're like, "Pay us this
Hmm.
much money."
Yeah, definitely big red flag. I'm so glad you say this. And I know
Don't pay
everybody,
anyone.
no, no, don't pay them. If they want to link to you, they will. Like,
Mhm.
they think you're a credible source and you're trustworthy. So, and you can go search for that, right? For other websites linking to your website. And maybe you can just send them a thank you letter. And maybe you can search for sites that you want to link to and then make the web better without any payments
Right.
on
I wanna
that
say
end.
a tool like SEMrush will also tell you
Yeah.
a website's authority score if it and that's like a good way to sort of see this might be another episode we have to do, but that it might be a good way to see or that is a good way to see, okay, is this a credible source that I can
Exactly.
link with, and make that relationship, but,
Yeah. And
um
research, like if they show you one page that would be interesting to build that link, like add that link to, check their other pages as well, because they just might have copied a blog from some on a random
Mhm.
site just to show you like, hey, we got info that's super helpful to you. Please check what their domain is about and
Right.
what all other content they show, because that might be a little fake.
Yeah, I hear that. So let's sort of jump into I know you like spread little tidbits here and there, but how does
Yeah.
Yoast itself help with SEO?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I already said like we have multiple plugins and we have some specialized plugins. So the first thing we do if you install our WordPress plugin or our Shopify app is some technical stuff in the background. Um, for the ones listening that want to know, for example, we make sure your pages get indexed. We want make sure you set up your structured data well, so Google can actually provide users with rich results. So, for example, if you gather reviews on your product pages, for example, and you use our WooCommerce SEO, we can make sure that those reviews are referred to a search result, so people already see, hey, this company got good results. So that's some technical stuff we do. But the most um, the most helpful thing we do, I guess, for a user creating content is our SEO and readability checks in when you in the editor. So when you're actually writing that content, our SEO check will live check if that content
Oh,
is adapting to some of the SEO best practices that we know Google is paying attention to. That's what our SEO check does. Our readability check, on the other hand, as the word already says, makes sure that you pay attention to making readable content, and not only readable in the words that you use. So, for example, we give you hints on transition words. So help the user understand how you got to a certain point. Use words as therefore or that's why or stuff like that. So the transition words thing is one thing, but also make sure your paragraphs are not too long, especially on mobile. Like, people don't keep on reading; they need a break sometimes. So we will help you with stuff like that. So that's during the content creation phase. If your post or page gets published, we don't stop at the content creation phase. Then we will move on to, for example, check if you have internal links on those pages. So if you are working towards that site structure and that cornerstone content, but also we will help you to find out any errors. We will give you, like, we will do all kinds of checks, and people mostly know us from like the red, orange, and green bullets in the check section, like in our meta box or our sidebar. But we do overall checks as well. So on a post overview, for example, you can easily select all the posts that have a red bullet, like a red bullet for SEO in general, and you know there's some work to do. And that's a really easy way of making sure you optimize your pages or posts for Google or readers, because you don't have to get into detail in all these posts, like what should I change? You just select the posts you want to work on that have a red. I would suggest starting with the red bullets to make sure that you optimize those, and then you get bigger wins than making sure every single bullet is green. So start with that. Then, and I mentioned this a little bit. I think I don't quite remember. SEO is a lot of work. And we know it's, especially when your site is growing and maybe multiple people are working on your content, or you have an agency helping you out, it's hard to make sure that then when you want to optimize stuff, to determine what your first thing is that you need to do. And therefore, we have introduced workouts in our premium plugin that actually give you like a workflow, like, hey, you want to improve your cornerstone content structure? Here are the articles that are lacking links, or here are the articles you marked as cornerstone content, but actually don't get that much links. And here are some suggestions for links that you can put in. So you can say, like, okay, I just want to get this fixed, and I have a list of things to do, and Yoast will help you to get this done. And I think the last thing is, and I'm really proud of this, and I think it's a lesser known part of Yoast SEO. But as you notice, because I'm here, we love to get all people better at SEO. SEO for everyone is our mission. And one way of doing that is educating people. We have a whole academy full of courses on basic SEO stuff, deep dive stuff, like international SEO, like you have a website in multiple languages, how to handle that. That's super hard. So I think our academy is like a little, I hope it's not a hidden gem for listeners, but I am afraid it's a hidden gem for some people. But the academy is really helping people to get better at SEO, not only by doing it, but also by learning it and expanding their knowledge. So on every level, from preparing to actually writing the content, to making that overview of your pages, of your internal linking structure, of educating yourself, that's what Yoast does. And apart from that, we're sharing a lot of our knowledge in free blogs, in free webinars. We do a monthly news webinar, for example, where all the latest Google updates will be discussed, but also updates from the WordPress world, from Shopify, from even social media, because I already mentioned how important social media is for SEO as well. So we go into that as well. And we have one of like a few of the world's best SEOs working at our company. So we have a lot of innovative stuff that people don't really think about when they're just starting with SEO, and that's totally fine. But I guess that's a big benefit of Yoast as well.
Love that.
New things.
Yeah. And if you know Interact, you know that we're big fans of giving all the knowledge, all the information.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just making sure that people know, and it's, I mean, at least for me, I know even today, there's all these things out there online where it's like, pay so much money to, just learn the basics that you could easily learn on your own. But I love that. I think that's great. So I have two last questions for you before we close out. Second to last is, what are three things most people would not know about you?
About me as a person? That's a great one. I think one thing that people don't know about me is that I prefer cold and winter over sun and summer. Well, I like sun, but not too warm. So that's one thing that will always get me into arguments when the summer is getting started. So now I'm super happy because we're
It's
getting
getting cold.
autumn
Yeah.
and winter again. So I'm happy about that. What people don't know about me either, I think that I'm a bass player. So I used to
Oh.
be in bands playing the bass, and that's always if you say to people, yeah, I'm used to being in bands and play music and all of that. Oh, you're probably the singer or you're probably the pianist or something. No, I'm the bass player. Come on.
I love that.
Yeah, I really like that. Um, and another thing people don't know about me, probably that, well, people that know me know that my cats are my kids. Like my partner and I have two black cats, and they're our kids. And I think everybody with pets think
Hmm.
their pets are their kids. Um, but of course, that's not something on the business side that is super visible. So I guess that's one thing to share as well. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so my last question for you, if you could give yourself a single piece of advice at the start of your career, what would it be?
Okay. Oh, that's so hard. Um, I guess I'm pretty proud of what I have achieved in these 8 years of my career, and I would say follow follow your heart and follow your ambition and speak up about what you want, because I I see so many people with great ideas and great ambitions and big dreams, but not doing what they actually want to do. And I can like be a pain in the ass, I guess, because I'm like pointing out stuff like this is wrong and we should do this better. And then they say, okay, Nynke, go do it. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. I really want to fix this. But be loud about it. Speak up about your desires, the things you see, the questions. Ask a lot of questions. I ask questions all the time. And yeah, make sure you're heard and people know your view on stuff. And I think speak up, be loud, let people know what you think. And I think I did that. But
I love it.
I think the confidence in that's the
Mhm.
right thing to do. That's something I would give my like 8 years younger self. Like, it's okay. Don't be ashamed of saying what you want and how you would see the ideal world. That's okay. You
Yeah.
should do it.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's awesome. That's
Cool.
awesome. Last thing for you, where can
Yeah.
people find you guys online? And I guess
Yeah. So
how can they get started with Yoast?
they can get started with Yoast super easily. If you are on WordPress, just go look for plugins because we're the first one in on the page there. If you are not on WordPress but want to get all the knowledge that we share, because that's applicable to every CMS or even people that don't decide on a CMS yet, go to yoast.com, and that's yoast.com, and just browse. Like, go in there. We have guides for beginners, like complete guides on SEO, on WordPress, all of that stuff. And if you're not so much into reading, sign up for our academy. We have a lot of free courses and you can just watch. um, and we are social as well, of course. And if you really like live interaction with our experts and all of that, go follow us on Crowdcast, because that's where we do all our webinars, and they're all free. You can just sign up for them, and you might see me every now and then and my colleagues doing all of that. Yeah, we are all about knowledge sharing. So find the medium that fits your needs, because some people like reading, some people like listening, some
Hmm.
people like watching or interacting, um, as you know, from making quizzes and doing all that stuff. So yeah, but Yoast.com would be the first source to go to, I guess.
Love it. And we will link that for you guys in the show notes. So be on the lookout for that. And Nynke, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and being on the show with us here today.
More than welcome. I'm super happy I could be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.